This is the fish that made me question everything I thought I knew about keeping animals. 100 days ago, this thing was small enough to fit in the palm of my hand. Today, it's not. Everyone told me not to do this. They said it would get too big, too aggressive, too dangerous to even feed by hand. They said I'd give up within a month. They were almost right. There were nights I sat in front of this tank at 2 a.m., watching the water go cloudy, wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake. There was a day I genuinely thought it was over. But I kept going. And what happened over the next 100 days changed the way I think about raising animals completely. This is day 100, and trust me, you need to see how this started. If you're new here, I'm Miller, and for the last few years I've been raising and documenting animals most people would never keep at home. You might remember the turtle enclosure build from last year, or the stray dog rescue series. But this one was different. When I first started researching this species, half of what I found online was pure myth, exaggerated stories about man-eating fish that made this thing sound like something out of a horror movie. The other half was just vague. Nobody had actually documented the full growth cycle, day by day, from a baby to a full-grown adult. So I decided to do it myself. 100 days. Full transparency, the good, the ugly, and the moments I almost quit. Before the fish even arrived, I had to build a setup that could handle what this thing was going to become. New tank, proper filtration, a heater rated for a much bigger bioload than what I was starting with. I cleaned the glass, laid the substrate, installed the filter, and let the water cycle before anything living went anywhere near it. Everything had to be ready, because once day one started, there was no turning back. Brief mention of past project, for example, you might remember. Day 1. This is it. Barely 2 inches long, and honestly, kind of unassuming for something with such a reputation. I released it gently into the tank, and immediately it looked lost. Tiny, hovering in the middle of all this open water, completely dwarfed by its new home. The first few days were about patience. I tested the water constantly, pH, ammonia, temperature, because at this size, any mistake could be fatal. By day 5, it was still cautious around food. It would barely approach the brine shrimp I dropped in, like it didn't trust the environment yet. Day 10, the appetite finally kicked in. And once it didn't stop. Every time I introduced food, the reaction got faster, more aggressive, more precise. By day 15, I started seeing the behavior everyone had warned me about. Fins flaring, sudden bursts of speed, sharp, controlled strikes at anything that moved. This wasn't a shy little fish anymore. This was the beginning of something else. I remember sitting there with my notebook, logging the growth, thinking, this is only day 15. What happens at day 50? Brief mention of past project, for example. You might remember. By day 20, the difference was obvious. Side by side with the day 1 footage, it had visibly grown. Longer, thicker, more solid. But growth this fast comes with risk. And on day 25, I walked into the fish room and knew immediately something was wrong. The water was cloudy. Not the normal, slightly hazy cloudy. Genuinely murky. The kind of cloudy that means something in that tank is in trouble. I won't lie. My stomach dropped. I grabbed my test kit and the readings confirmed it. Something in the water chemistry had spiked, almost certainly from the increased bioload outgrowing my filtration. I spent the next several hours doing an emergency water change, replacing filter media, and adjusting everything I could. It was one of the most stressful nights of this entire project. 6 hours later, the water started clearing. And by the next morning, I could finally breathe again. By day 30, things had stabilized, but a new kind of tension was building, not in the water, but between the fish themselves. I started noticing territorial behavior. Fins raised, short, sharp confrontations over space in the tank. By day 35, there was a clear hierarchy forming. One fish had claimed the center of the tank, and it made sure everyone else knew it. If you're finding this project interesting, this is a great time to hit subscribe. Because what happened next on day 43 is something I genuinely did not see coming. Brief mention of past project, for example, you might remember. Day 43 was the day I almost lost everything. I walked into the fish room that morning like any other day. Flip the light switch, and the second the tank lit up, I knew something was seriously wrong. For a moment, I genuinely thought it was over. My hands were shaking as I tried to figure out what had happened and how bad it actually was. I had two options in front of me, and neither one was guaranteed to work. I had to make a call fast. I won't walk you through every single minute of what came next, but it involved constant monitoring and a lot of waiting. Hour by hour, I watched for any sign of improvement, and slowly, painfully slowly, things started to turn around. Days later, the water was clear again. The fish was swimming normally. The crisis had passed. Looking back now, the lesson was simple. Never underestimate how fast a bioload can outgrow your equipment. It's a mistake I won't make again. With the crisis behind us, it was time to move forward. Into the phase of this project I'd honestly been looking forward to the most.